Hello and welcome back to Artist on a Budget Cinematography Breakdown, where we will be breaking down cinematography and the lighting choices behind its lighting choices. So this time we are on the part 2 of the breakdown of Footprints on the Moon, the independent film that wasn't completed. If you haven't seen the first part of the breakdown, either click on the link somewhere that's going to be popping up here, or I have included the link in the description down below. All right, so let's get on to the first scene. All right, so here we have a scene where two people are running under the rain. I think we shot this scene at around 2 p.m. in the afternoon, so the sun was still out there somewhere, but as you can see, there are no signs of sun anywhere in the frame. That's because we scheduled this shot to be filmed during a cloudy day, so it pays to know the weather beforehand if you want to do anything outdoors, otherwise you'll be stuck with something that you don't want. So for us, for example, yeah, we scheduled this scene to be shot on cloudy day. Otherwise, if the sun was out and we started making the rain scene, then it's gonna look fake with the sun shining somewhere over there. Well, if you're stuck with the sunshine and there's no cloudy day anywhere in your shooting schedule, what you can do is either, hang a big 20 by 20 or 40 by 40 butterfly onto a crane. And so our rain machine is actually just our gaffer Ronald holding a fireman's hose and hosing us down with some strong water. So why isn't the fireman doing the hosing us down? Well, because our Ronald is more experienced with spraying us with his water. So yeah, here we are in the porch, covered by a waterproof jacket, and that's our AD. I don't know what she's thinking about at the moment, but yeah, that's pretty much the lighting in this scenario. And moving on to the next scene, when our actor Max Collins gets into the house, lighting this was also very simple. We just had to have one Kino Flow over here, just behind this pillar over here, with daylight tubes shooting through a 216 full diffusion, and that's it. Aside from that, we had to cover all the windows with black fabric, because as you can see in this behind the scenes over here, this house has a lot of windows in it, so we had to cover a lot of those windows with black fabric to be able to control the lighting. So why did I light the scene with only one Kino Flow and from the light that's coming in from the windows? Well, one is that because, again, from the situation outside, it's raining, so of course the lighting, the ambient lighting, is going to be a little gloomy. And in this scene, I wanted to reflect the emotional state of the character. So in this scene, for example, Ada is walking into the house of her former lover, whom she haven't seen for 10 years. So going into this house, she doesn't know what to expect, and that's what I wanted to show in this picture. I don't want it to be too dark that it becomes a horror film, and I don't want it to be too bright that it becomes, a romantic comedy. So I just want it between dark and light to reflect the emotional uncertainty of our character. So moving on to the next scene, this is my number one favorite shot of the film. Why? Because it just looks very painterly for me personally. So to light the scene, we have the sun over here, giving her this nice side lighting or rim lighting. And then over here of the frame, we have a 2.5K with a CTO to fill the shadows that are made by the sunlight. Otherwise, without this light, she's gonna be thrown into darkness. So that's it for lighting this scene. But I want to tell you about the lens that I used. So here I used an 85mm lens, and I positioned myself around maybe 12 to 15 meters away from the subject so I can capture her whole body. So why didn't I use wider lenses, maybe 24 or 35, and so I could still go in closer to her and capture her face and her emotions and still capture the background? Well, I didn't want to, because what wide angle lenses do is it shrinks the background and only amplifies what's closer to the foreground. But with the 85mm, what it does, or with any other telephoto lenses or long lenses, what it does is it compresses the background and the foreground together. And with that, I wanted to capture her emotions not only through her face nor the lighting, but I wanted to capture her emotions through the background. So you can see I kind of wanted to create a portrait of her emotions with the background. So for me, when you look at the scene, it actually evokes more sadness if you know what happens to the scene prior, before this scene. So yeah, with all this cloud cover, with the sea, the waves crashing onto the shore, with the wind ruffling her hair, it's a very nostalgic image, and a very, for me, it evokes her sadness. So yeah, so I used an 85mm because I wanted to capture her emotions through her surroundings. And I couldn't have done that with a wide angle lens. Let me show you the behind the scenes. So here you have the 2.5K with the CTO, with a full CTO. And then here's the actor. Here I am with the camera. So I think, yeah, that's around 15 meters away from her. Yeah, so here is what the wide angle lens would do. If you can see, these bushes here are closer to the foreground, and although, yeah, I would have captured her face more if I used a wide angle lens. Maybe she would be standing here and she would be crying or whatever, but I didn't want that. I wanted her to be one with the background. That's why I used an 85mm lens. So going back to the behind the scenes, here you have a 575, which I didn't use. I don't know why it's there. I think the gaffer just put it in there for standby in case I need another light, but I didn't need another light. I just needed this 2.5 and the sun over here. Let's look at another behind the scenes. So here you have the 2.5, here you have the actor with Louise fixing her hair, and then here I am, somewhere over here behind all these people, and here you have a rainbow which didn't make the final cut. And on to the next scene. So this scene is also one of my favorite shots in the film because of the way it was lit, and the way it was lit completely captures the emotional or the personality of the character, being someone who loves to read books, someone who loves to dream, someone who loves to remember the past. The warmth of the lighting, the setting, the location completely captures his personality. So to light this one, we had a 2.5K to simulate the sun, because as you can see here in the window, there's a building blocking the sunlight that's coming in. So we had to add a 2.5K to act as the sun. Actually, the 2.5K is my go-to light for sunlight on a budget. Otherwise, if we have a big enough budget, I could have gone for a 6K or even an 18K. But yeah, we don't have budget, so 2.5K is the go-to. So this sunlight is what's causing this one, this light, and then over here we have a couple of 650 watts bounced onto a low-hanging ceiling, and in turn is giving this nice little warm glow to the side of his face. And then on top here overhead we have another 650 on a dimmer, dimmed down to 20%, plus a CTB. So this light is actually hitting the notebook, and then in turn is bouncing a very, very subtle light onto his face. And then going into the close-up, we didn't change anything in the setup. This still the 2.5K that's burning this page over here, and then as you can see, the warmth of the page over here that's coming from the 650 watts that's overhead. And looking at the behind the scenes, here you have the two 650 watts pointing up into the ceiling and bouncing to the actor, which will be standing over here. And then here's that 650 on a dimmer with a CTB pointed to the book. And then the guy here is rigging something else for a different shot. As you can see, there are two Chinese lanterns here, which we didn't bring because that's already included, pre-installed in the location. So yeah, we were fortunate enough that the location had Chinese lanterns, which added to the overall ambience of the shot. So moving on to the next scene. So in this scene, our character Irene stumbles upon the bedroom of Franz and sees and discovers that Franz actually has photocopies of that notebook with the unknown characters taped onto the wall. So I wanted to give this scene, or I wanted to give this frame a sense of discovery for Irene. So to light the scene, we have that 1.2K over here outside. So that's shining here to give a sense of sunlight. And then this side light that you see over here, this backlight, is coming from that LED Fresnel, that Chinese knockoff of the 56K lighting Joker bug that I showed you in the part 1 of the video. So that's what I used to light this, to light her back over here. And then I placed a polyboard over here to help bounce the light of the 1.2K and the Joker bug onto her face over here. So if you can see, there's a very subtle light coming from the bottom, and that's coming from the polyboard. And on to the next scene. This scene is actually one of the exciting scenes to pull off because it's a moving vehicle shot. So, but first let me talk to you about the lighting. So, as you can see in the glasses of Irene here, you can see a reflection of a fixture somewhere over here. So what I used here is the Joker bug that the AC, or the knockoff Joker bug that the AC brought with him. So that one is only lighting her face and not Franz's face because he's already well lit by the sun outside. And since that the windows are not tinted, we wrapped it with ND9 filters, so we could balance the light of the inside and the outside. And as you can see, the gaffer tapes are still visible, which I allowed because this car is already very old, and having these tapes over there shows that this car is already deteriorating. So that's why I kept the tapes to be seen. And then let me show you the behind the scenes why this shot is actually pretty exciting to pull off. So here you see the behind the scenes of that moving vehicle shot. So here I am with the headphones on, listening to their conversation, and then here you have the camera and the grip and me all strapped into this platform here that was welded into the chassis of the Beetle, and we were being towed by a truck because the actor Aki doesn't know how to drive a manual yet. But even though if he knew how to drive a manual, it's not safe to drive with us blocking his view. That's why we were being towed. And then here you have a black fabric to cover all the reflections. At first, as you can see, I wanted to have still some light coming in from the front to hit their faces, but that still proved problematic because of all the reflections that it was making. As you can see, yeah, if we didn't have the black fabric over here, then there would be a lot of reflections on the windscreen, and that will be obscuring their faces. Even if I used a polarizing filter, those reflections were still severe enough that, yeah, we don't see their faces. That's why I just requested for the black fabric instead of using the butterfly on top of it. And the reverse angle of this shot, as you can see, there's a cable hanging over here. That's the cable of the audio. And this is the reverse shot of that behind the scenes. So you have here our audio guy JR listening to the conversation, and then this is the audio guy part 2 Densho holding the cable slack so it doesn't fall into the ground. And this is our AD Sati, who looks very worried about our safety, but she doesn't need to worry because our grip and our gaffer here made sure all safety measures are taken. So moving on to the next scene, we have another shot with a lot of rain. So the rain is actually just hitting this part over here and the beetle over here and maybe a few of the steps over here, but that's it. But prior to rolling this shot, we made sure to wet all the steps all the way here, including some of the greeneries, to make sure that it's wet, it looks wet, and it's shining, reflecting light. And to light the scene, we have a 2.5K over here, blasting through a 4x4 frame with a yellow gel. And then over here, we have a 1.2K blasting through a 4x4 frame with a full CTB. And then over here somewhere behind these trees is a 575 with a yellow gel, but it's not really doing much. That's yeah, you can't really see the effect over here. And then this light over here is also another 575 that's making all this nice light rays over here. And then behind all these lampposts are 650 watts 650 watts pointed to the ground, so to amplify the effect of the lamppost. So that the light that you see here, that's actually coming from the 650 watt fixture. And then looking at the behind the scenes, here you have the 2.5K with the yellow gel. This one is a 575 with the yellow gel. And then this one actually is just a headlight of the fire truck, which I requested to be turned on just to have an extra punch of light, you know. So yeah, you see here, this is the only place that's wet by the rain, and this one's also already drying up. So if you noticed, I mixed two colors here, blue and yellow. Okay, so why is that? Let me just clear all these things for you. So the color yellow and the blue here, aside from representing the obvious street lamps and the moon, aside from that, digging deeper, in this scene actually, our character here, Franz, is actually about to meet the person that he's been searching for a long time, who is hiding somewhere over there in this building. So digging deeper to the yellow and the blue, the yellow for me represents his excitement and eagerness to see that person, and the blue here represents his nervousness and uncertainty of what to expect when he meets that person. And then this 575 here actually is added by our gaffer, and was suggested by our gaffer, which I accepted because when he turned on the light, it made all these nice streaks over here, and that for me represents the idea of the person that he's looking for. So here you can see that Franz is walking towards the building where the light is. So basically he's walking into the light. So yeah, that's why I mixed the colors in the scene, because again, as usual, I wanted to reflect the character's emotions in as much as possible in every frame. Moving on to the next scene. So yeah, in this scene we have here Franz arguing with the security guard to let him in, and here we have Ada, who is actually the person that Franz was looking for. So to light the scene was simple enough. We had here a full grid fabric, and then a 1.2K bouncing onto the polyboard, and then in turn bouncing through to the full grid, giving them that soft light over there. And then for the top light, what we used is two 650 watts with a CTB gels, and bouncing it onto the ceiling, and that's the soft light that you see here. And we also didn't turn on the practical lights. And then over here on the side of France, outside the door, we have here a Kino Flos with daylight tubes. So that's what you see here, over here, and on their faces. All right, so let's look at the behind the scenes of this shot. So yeah, here you see the Kino Flos fixed onto the ceiling that's shining onto them, and here you also have another Kino Flos giving them a side light. So that Kino Flos is actually for the reverse shot of this scene. So if you go to the, here, that Kino Flos will have an effect when the camera goes over here. So looking back again at the behind the scenes, we have here another 575. I think this is a 575 on a yellow gel that's lighting the background over here. So that will only make an effect when we do the reverse shot of the scene. And as you can see, you still have the fireman's hose over here making a making some rain for the reverse shot. All right, so moving on to the next scene. So here we have the shot that is similar to this shot over here. This shot here is actually the opening shot of the film, not just the opening shot of the trailer. It's actually also the opening shot of the film. And then here, this is actually close to the ending shot of the film. So I just want to have that parallelism, that juxtaposition between the two characters, including the lighting. So to light the scene is actually almost the same as what I did in this shot. So if you haven't seen the breakdown of this shot, then you have to watch part 1 of this breakdown. All right, so what I did to light this one is I had a 2.5 over here, shining over here, acting like as the indoor source for this light. And then here we have a 575 lighting the edge of the bed and the this medicines over here. So again, I think we shot this like in high noon at around 12 to 1 p.m. So the sun outside is really blaring hot. So aside from using 2.5Ks and 575s on the camera, we also added some ND filters, and even the window there was an ND filter. I don't remember anymore what ND filter we had. I think it was either an ND6 or ND9. Plus in the lens, in the camera, I had either an ND6 over in it. So the 2.5K was bright enough to balance the light between the inside and the outside. Now the difference with this setup and the setup of the first shot is that if you remember, in this shot I had a Kino Flos over here to lift the shadows a little bit so the shadows won't be too crushed. But in this scene, I let go of the Kino Flos and there was no light filling in the shadows. So I just let the shadows to be crushed in this scene because, you know, again, to reflect the emotional state of the character, which is someone who is already very tired of life. So here is the final image of the trailer for the Footprints on the Moon. So what we did here is we moved the 2.5 from inside the room and moved it outside and placed it in front of a window, and then used that as the sunlight to light the background over here. And then for his key light, we have a 1.2K blasting through a 4x4 frame with 2x opal frost. So yeah, I used an opal frost instead of a diffusion, instead of a quarter diffusion or half diffusion, because I still wanted that hardness of the shadows. With the diffusion, the shadows are gonna be too soft that it's not gonna look like sunlight. But with 1x Opal Frost, the shadows are just a little bit too hard for my liking. So I added another layer of Opal Frost to make it just enough to make it look like the sun. So yeah, last thing is that we have here on top a Kino Flow on a boom arm with daylight tubes to act as the top light for him. So that pretty much sums up the cinematography breakdown of the footprints on the Moon trailer. There are actually still a lot more shots that I really liked which were not included in the trailer, but that's a video for another time. For now, thank you very much for watching this video, and if you like this one and if you would like to see more, please do hit subscribe. And if you are already subscribed, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.